Hi, welcome to the online lecture of IBM3012 Principles of Marketing Management. In Chapter 19 and Chapter 20 for older edition of the textbook, we're going to learn about pricing concepts. Price means one thing to consumer and another to the seller. To the seller, price the source of profit and revenue. And to the customer, the price is the cost of something. Marketing managers find the task of setting price a challenge. Price allocates resources in a free market economy. Price is that which is given up in an exchange to acquire a good or service. Price is typically money exchanged for a good or service. However, it may include other costs such as the time lost while waiting to acquire the good or service. Consumers are interested in obtaining a reasonable price, which means a perceived reasonable value at the time of the transaction. The price paid is based on the satisfaction consumers expect to receive from a product and not necessarily the satisfaction they actually receive. Price can relate to anything with a perceived value, not just the money itself. When goods or services are exchanged, the trade is called barter. Prices are the key to the revenues, which are the key to the profits for an organization. Revenue is what pays for every activity of the company. What's left over is the profit. The price is set to earn a profit for the company. Managers strive to charge a price that will earn a fair profit. So the revenue is the price charged to the customers multiplied by the number of units sold. And profit is the revenue minus expenses or cost. Setting the right price can be a stressful task of marketing managers, as demonstrated by the above trends in the consumer market. Competition in general is increasing, and consequently, many installations, accessories, and parts are being marketed like indistinguishable commodities. The trends of influencing the price drop is first, flood of new products. Second, increased availability of bargain-priced private and generic brands. Third, price cutting as a strategy to maintain or regain market share. Fourth, as I mentioned, internet use for comparison shopping. And also the U.S. recession of the economy from late 2007 to 2009. Pricing objectives must be specific, attainable, and measurable to survive in today's competitive market. Pricing objective can be divided into three categories shown above and described in the following slide. First is the profit-oriented. Profit-oriented pricing objectives include profit maximization, satisfactory profits, and target return on investment. First, the profit maximization is setting prices so that the total revenue is as large as possible related to the total cost. Although the profit maximization aims at the setting prices for a large total revenue, it does not always signify unreasonably high prices. Both price and profit depend on the competitive environment and the product's perceived value. Remember, too, that a firm cannot charge a price higher than the product's perceived value. Satisfactory profit represents a reasonable level of a profit that is consistent with the level of risk an organization faces. Second, return on investment, the ROI. The most common profit objective is a target ROI, or the return on total assets. It represents a firm's effectiveness in generating profits with the available assets. The higher the firm's ROI, the better off the firm is. ROI puts a firm's profit into perspective by showing profits relative to the investment. Return on investment needs to be evaluated in terms of the competitive environment, risk in the industry, and economic conditions. In general, firms seek ROIs in the 10 to 30% range depending on the industry. Third is a sales-oriented pricing. The objectives are based either on market share or on dollar or unit sales. The market share is a company's product sales as a percentage of total sales for that industry. Market share can be reported in dollars or units of products, and the result may be different. Many companies believe that maintaining or increasing market share is an indicator of the effectiveness of their marketing mix. Larger market share often means higher profits thanks to economies of scale, market power, and ability to compensate top quality management. But this conventional wisdom is not always reliable. Many companies with low market share survive if they are in the slow growth industry and experience few product changes. Sales maximization is rather than strive for the market share, but sometimes companies try to maximize the sales itself. So they use the short-term objective to maximize the sales. ignore profits, competition, and the marketing environment. It may be used to sell off excess inventory, but without profits, a company cannot actually survive. Status quo pricing seeks to maintain existing prices or to meet the competitors' prices. This category requires little planning, and it is essentially a passive policy. Next topic is the demand determinant of price. Demand is the quantity of a product that will be sold in the market at various prices for a specific period. Supply is the quantity of products that will be offered to the market by suppliers at various prices for a specific period. The quantity of a product that people will buy depends on its price. The higher the price, the fewer goods or services consumers will demand, and vice versa. So Exhibit 9.2 shows the demand curve. So if the price is higher, then there is a lower quantity that people will seek, and vice versa. Exhibit 19.3 shows the supply curve. It has the positive relations between the price and the quantity supplied per week. So the higher the price, suppliers want to supply more products to the market compared to the demand curve, which has the negative slope. The concept of supply and demand are combined to see how competitive market prices are determined. First is a price equilibrium, the price at which demand and supply are equal. And in that case, elasticity of demand plays, consumers' responsiveness or sensitivity to change in price. So the first example, price equilibrium, is shown in Exhibit 19.4. The price below equilibrium results in a shortage because of the demand is greater than the available supply. A shortage puts upward pressure on price. At a price above equilibrium, the demand is less than the available supply and the surplus is created. The surplus lowers the price. Establishing an equilibrium price may not be possible all at once. Prices may fluctuate as market for a good moves toward equilibrium, but demand and supply will eventually settle into the proper balance. That's what they call the invisible hand by Adam Smith. To appreciate the demand analysis, the concept of elasticity of demand should be understood. First, elastic demand means consumers buy more or less of the product when the price changes. An inelastic demand means an increase or a decrease in the price will not actually affect the demand. And unitary elasticity means an increase in sales exactly offsets a decrease in prices, so total revenue remains the same. Elasticity of demand can be calculated like this. Percentage of change in quantity demanded of a good A is divided by a percentage change in price of a good A. So, if elasticity is more than 1, the demand is elastic, and if the elasticity is less than 1, demand is inelastic. And if it is 1, demand is unitary. So, let's take a look at this example. Here, price of an Oakley sunglass went down from $100 to $90. And quantity sold in the sunglass hut increased from 1,000 to 1,200. So in order to calculate this, we need to calculate the percentage change of the price and percentage change of the demand. So for the elasticity of demand, percentage change in quantity demanded is what here? And percentage change in price, you do it yourself. The answer will be provided in different slide. Let's take a look at the second example. The price of a pair of Nike running shoes went up from $50 to $55. Quantity sold in stores decreased from 10,000 units to 9,000 units. So in order to calculate the elasticity of demand, the same calculation applies here. Again, the answer will be provided in different slide sets. Elasticity can be measured by observing the changes in total revenue shown on the slide. So when the price goes down and the revenue goes up, then the demand is elastic. When the price goes down and revenue goes down, it is inelastic, and vice versa. But when the price goes up and down and the revenue stays the same, it is unitary elasticity. There are factors that affect elasticity of demand. Availability of substitute. When many substitutes are available, it is easy to switch products, making demand elastic. The same is true in reverse if no substitutes are available. Price relative to purchasing power. If a price is so low that it is an inconsequential part of an individual's budget, demand will be inelastic. Product durability. Repairing durable products rather than replacing them prolongs their useful life. Thus, people are sensitive to the price increase and the demand is elastic. A product's other use. The greater the number of uses for a product, the more elastic demand tends to be. If a product has only one use, the quantity purchased probably will not vary as price varies. Rate of inflation. When inflation is high, demand becomes more elastic. Rising price levels make consumers more price sensitive. So a good example of product that has the lowest elasticity of demand is the gas. So whichever the price of the gas is, we need the gas. So there's no substitute, even if there are some electric cars or diesel cars. But most consumers who's driving a regular gas-powered cars, the price is very, very inelastic for gas. Sometimes the importance of demand is ignored when the prices are decided based largely or solely on the basis of the cost. Price set on the basis of the cost may be too high for the target market. But on the other hand, if prices are set too low, the firm will earn a lower return than it should be. Cost should be determined as the part of any price determination, in part to determine the floor below which a good or service must not be priced in the long run. Variable and fixed costs are important aspects of the price determination. Variable cost varies with the changes in level of output, and fixed cost does not change as the level of output changes. To compare the cost of a production to the selling price of the product, it is helpful to calculate cost per unit or average cost. Average variable cost, AVC, is the total variable cost divided by quantity of output. Average total cost, ATC, is the total cost divided by quantity of the output. And the marginal cost is the change in total cost associated with the 1 unit change in output. Cost can be used to set prices in a variety of ways. Market pricing is fairly simple. The others, profit maximization pricing and break-even pricing, they use more complicated concept of cost. A description of these methods is shown on the following slides. First, market pricing is the most popular method to establish a selling price. Instead of using the cost of production to set the price, market pricing uses the cost of buying the product from the producer plus amount for profit and expenses. The total determines the selling price. Keystoning is a method based on experience, with many small retailers just doubling the cost. Other factors that influence the markups are the merchandise's appeal to customers, past response to the market, the item's promotional value, the seasonability of the good, their fashion apparel, the product's traditional selling price, and competition. Profit maximization occurs when marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Marginal cost is the changes in total cost associated with the 1 unit change in output. Marginal revenue, MR, is the extra revenue associated with the selling an extra unit of output. As long as the revenue of the last unit produced and sold is greater than the cost of the last unit produced and sold, the firm should continue manufacturing and selling the product. Exhibit 19.7 shows the relationship between cost, revenue, and break-even point. Break-even analysis determines what sales volume must be reached before the company's break-even and no profits are earned. Its total cost equals to total revenue. So here, the red slope is the total cost and the blue slope is the total revenue. So when they meet each other after assigning for the fixed cost and the variable cost, here is the break-even point. So in order for this firm to break even, they have to produce and sell 4,000 units and make $4,000. The advantage of break-even analysis is that it provides a quick estimate of how much the firm must sell to break even and how much profit can be earned if a higher sales volume is obtained. Sometimes, however, it is hard to know whether a cost is fixed or variable. Furthermore, simple break-even analysis ignores the demand. So there's an exercise as well. For calculating the break-even quantity, the total fixed cost is divided by fixed cost contribution. And fixed cost contribution can be calculated by selling price minus average variable cost. So there's an exercise here. Total fixed cost is $2,000 and unit price is $1. And also the average variable cost is 50 cents. Now we can calculate the fixed cost contribution first, and we can calculate the break-even quantity. See Chapter 11 for review of the product life cycle. As a product moves through its life cycle, the demand for the product and the competitive conditions can change. During the introductory stage, prices are set to high to recover the development cost. Demand originates in the core of the market and it is relatively inelastic. As the product enters the growth stage, prices tend to stabilize due to the increased product supply from competitors, increased product appeal to a broader market, and decreased cost from economies of scale. Third, maturity brings about further decrease in prices as competition increases and high-cost firms are eliminated. But distribution channels become a significant cost factor because of the needs to offer wider product lines. Usually, only the most efficient manufacturers can remain. The decline stage may see further price decreases until only one firm is left in the market. At the time, prices begin to stabilize and may even increase as the product moves into the specialty goods category. The competition varies during the product life cycle. Although a firm may not have competition at first, the high prices obtained may induce other firms to enter the market. Sometimes competition can lead to price wars. Promotional strategy. Price is often used as a promotional tool to increase the consumer interest. Since the price is the most visible element of the 4 Ps, many companies are using bargaining price as their promotional tools. The relationship of price to quality. When a purchase decision involves uncertainty, consumers tend to rely on a high price as a predictor of good quality. A consumer's psychological state at the time of purchase has a significant impact on his perception of price and quality. Consumers assume that you get what you pay for. Prestige pricing takes these consumer attitudes into account when devising price strategies. A successful prestige pricing strategy requires a retail price that is reasonably consistent with consumers' expectations. Setting the right price is a 4-step process as shown in the Exhibit 20.1. The new product development process starts from establishing the pricing goals, and then estimate demand, cost, and profits, and choose a pricing strategy, and then fine-tune with the pricing tactics. Results lead to the right price for the product. The first step in setting the right price is to establish a pricing goal. In Chapter 19, the Part 1, we learned that the pricing objectives fall into 3 categories: profit-oriented, sales-oriented, and status quo. These pricing goals are derived from the firm's overall objectives. A good understanding of the marketplace and the consumer can tell a manager if a goal is realistic. All pricing objectives have trade-offs. Reaching the desired market share often means sacrificing short-term profit because without careful management, long-term profit goals may not be met. Meeting the competition is the easiest pricing goal to implement, but demand and cost, like the life cycle stage, and other consideration cannot be ignored when creating pricing objectives. The pricing strategy sets a competitive price in a specific market segment. Consequently, changing a price strategy can require dramatic alterations in the marketing mix, including the product itself. Pricing a new product depends on the market conditions and other elements of the marketing mix. For example, introducing a product resembling several others in the marketplace will have to restrict the pricing freedom. In contrast, introducing a product with no close substitute will have considerable pricing freedom. Most companies do not do a good job on researching pricing strategies. So, choosing a pricing strategy is a basic, long-term pricing framework that establishes the initial price for the product and intended direction for the price movements over the product life cycle. Companies that plan for creating a pricing strategy can select from those 3 basic approaches. First is a price skimming. A firm charges a high introductory price, often coupled with a heavy promotion. Second is the penetration pricing. A firm charges a relatively low price for the product initially as a way to reach the mass market. The last, status quo pricing, is for charging a price identical to or very close to the competition's price. Price skimming is a pricing policy whereby a firm charges a high introductory price, often coupled with heavy promotions. The term is derived from the phrase, skimming the cream off the top. Companies often use price skimming for new products when the product is perceived as having unique advantages. Over time, the price will be lowered. Additional situations when pricing skimming is successful are listed on the slide. First, when the demand is inelastic, the price skimming is successful. Second, unique advantages or superior product is present, then price skimming is possible, and legal protection of the product. For example, the pharmaceutical industry introduces the new drug, then there's a legal production of the product. Fourth, technological breakthrough. For example, Tesla introduced their Model S. They charged a higher price than other cars, and they can still remain the same price for the cars because their technology broke through the car market. Lastly, blocked entry to competitors by the protection of the patent or the trademark. Penetration pricing is at the opposite end of the spectrum from the price skimming. By charging a low price for a product, a larger share of the market is captured, resulting in a lower production cost. But it means lower profit per unit, and a higher volume of sales is required to reach the break-even point. Penetration pricing does not tend to discourage competition and is effective in a price-sensitive market. There are advantages of the penetration pricing. First, it can lead to a lower cost per unit as the production expands, thanks to the economies of scale. Second, discourages or block competition from market entry because they are charging the lower price. Third, boosts sales and provide large profit increases. But these advantages include first to require gear up from mass production. They have to have the mass production in order to be successful. Second, selling large volumes at low prices. Again, per unit profit is lower for penetration pricing, but for the mass production and mass selling, it is possible. Third, strategy to gain market share may fail. Status quo pricing means beating the competition's price by charging an identical price or very close to the competition's price. It is a simple method of pricing, but the strategy may ignore demand and or cost. However, if a firm is small, beating the competition's prices may be the safest route to a long-term survival of the firm. The advantages include the simplicity of the pricing strategy. Second, safest route to long-term survival for small firms. But the problem is that strategy may ignore demand and cost. The issues that limit pricing decisions are unfair trade practices, price fixing, price discrimination, and predatory pricing. In over half the states, Unfair Trade Practice Acts put a floor under wholesale and retail prices, and selling below cost is illegal. Wholesalers and retailers must take a certain minimum percentage markup on their combined merchandise cost and transportation cost. The most common markup figures are 6% at the retail level and 2% at the wholesale level. If a specific wholesaler or retailer can provide conclusive proof that operating costs are lower than the minimum required figure, lower prices may be allowed. The intent of Unfair Trade Practice Act is to protect small firms from retail giants like Walmart and Target, which operates efficiently on razor-thin profit margins. State enforcement of unfair trade practices law has generally been lax because low prices benefit local customers. Price fixing is illegal under the Sherman Act and the Federal Trade Commission Act. Unfair Trade Practice Act defined as the laws that prohibit wholesalers and retailers from selling below cost, and price fixing is an agreement between two or more firms on the price they will charge for a product. This slide outlines the 6 elements necessary for a violation of the Robinson-Patman Act of 1936. First, there must be a price discrimination. Second, transaction must occur in interstate commerce. Third, seller must discriminate by pricing among 2 or more purchasers. Fourth, products sold must be commodities or tangible goods, not the service goods. Fifth, products sold must be like grade and quality. Sixth, there must be significant competitive injury from that trade. The Robinson-Patman Act of 1936 provides 3 defenses for the seller charged with the price discrimination. In each case, that burden is on the defendant to prove the defense. First is the cost. A firm can charge different prices to different customers if the price represents manufacturing or quantity discount savings. Second, market conditions. Price variations are justified if designed to meet fluid products or market conditions. Examples include the deterioration of the perishable goods and obsolescence of the seasonal products, a distress sale under court order, or legitimate going out of business sale. Third, competition. A reduction in price may be necessary to stay even with the competition. Predatory pricing is illegal under the Sherman Act and the Federal Trade Commission. However, providing the use of this practice is difficult and expensive. Predatory pricing, defined as the practice of charging a very low price for a product with the intent of driving competitors out of business or out of the market. The Justice Department must show that the predator explicitly tried to ruin a competitor and that the predatory pricing was below the predator's average variable cost. The base price is the general price level at which the company expects to sell a good or service. The general price level is correlated with the pricing policy, above the market, at the market, or below the market average. The final step is to fine-tune the base price. Fine-tuning techniques include the discount, geographic pricing, and other pricing tactics. A base price can be lowered through the use of discount and the related tactics of allowances, rebates, low or 0% financing, and value-based pricing. Discounts are used to encourage customers to do what they would not ordinarily do, such as pay cash, take delivery out of season, or performing certain functions within a distribution channel. The most common tactics are the quantity discount. Quantity discount with lower prices for buying in multiple units of above a specified dollar amount. Cash discount offered for prompt payment of a bill. Functional discount, aka trade discount, are offered when the channel intermediaries perform a service for the manufacturer. Seasonal discounts are lower prices for buying merchandises out of season. Promotional allowances or trade allowances are payments to dealers for promoting the manufacturer's products. Rebates are cash refund given for purchasing a product within a specific period. 0% financing offers no interest charged to increase sales. However, it does not cost the manufacturers. Lastly, value-based pricing sets the price at a level that seems to the customer to be good price compared to other prices. The basic assumption with the value-based pricing is that the firm is customer-driven, seeking to understand the attributes customers want in the goods and services they buy and the value of that bundle of attributes to customers. Pricing products too low reduces company profits. This happens for two reasons. First, the company is attempting to buy market share through aggressive pricing. Second, managers have a natural tendency to want to make decisions that can be justified objectively. As a result, pricing decisions are made based on the current cost, projected short-term share gains, or current competitive prices rather than on long-term profitability of the firm. Most common methods of geographic pricing are described on this slide. First, FOB origin pricing. FOB stands for the free on board. The buyer pays the freight cost from the shipping point. In other words, buyers pay for the shipping. Second, uniform delivery pricing. The seller pays the freight charges and bill the purchaser an identical flat freight charge. Good example is the car dealership in the United States. For example, there's a Honda plant in Alabama. They charge exactly the same shipping cost of $750 in Alabama in California as well. So they are using the uniform delivery pricing. Zone pricing. For example, the US is divided into zones and a flat freight rate is charged to customers in a given zone. We are familiar with this when we try to ship something from UPS or FedEx locations. The map of US continent is divided into 4 different zones. The fourth is the freight absorption pricing. The seller pays for all or part of the freight charges and does not pass them to the buyer. So, in other words, it's the free shipping for buyers. Last is the basing point pricing. The seller charges the freight from basing point, regardless of the city from which the goods are shipped. Other pricing tactics are unique and define neat categorizations. Managers use these tactics to stimulate demands for specific products, to increase the store patronage, and to offer a wider variety of merchandise at a specific price point. These pricing tactics are described on this slide. First, single price tactic is all goods offered at the same price, such as Dollar Store or the Daiso Japan. Second, flexible pricing. Different customers pay different prices, such as student discount or military discount. Third, trade-ins are exchanging one item for a credit toward another. It is common in the car dealership. Ask the customers for selling their own car and get the new car with the credit. Fourth, professional service pricing. Used by professionals with experience, training, or certification. Price lining is for setting the several line items at a specific pricing point. Leader pricing is for selling product at near or below cost. Bait pricing is for luring customers through false or misleading price advertising. For example, it is pretty common in travel agencies. Odd-even pricing. Odd number prices imply the bargain, and even number prices imply the quality. Price bundling is combining two or more products in a single package. Two-part pricing is for charging two separate charges to consume a single good. The last is the pay what you want, product prices chosen by customers.